As I stated to the each one of the candidates, we are, it's not a debate. We just want you to talk about what your platform is about, why we should vote for you, and then after that, move to the next candidate, and then we'll go into a Q&A session from the club members and those of you that are here, so you can kind of go. So Tommy, it's on you.
Okay. Good afternoon. I want to thank everybody in the Progressive Club for inviting us out tonight. My name is Tommy Plummer, and I'm running for school board as post number 2. And my objective is to make a connection between our youth and the school. And you say to yourself, why is he saying it? Well, I've got 13 years of our juvenile hall facility. I'm one of the mentors there. Last year, I got an award from the Secretary of State for doing an outstanding job for that, for those 13 years with these young men. The problem I see in the community is that young men are kind of straying away, and I do know for a fact that at some point, once they leave juvenile hall, they're going to be put back in the community, and they're going to be back into the school system. So I want to do what they call a culture change. I want to change their minds and souls so when they go back to school, they get back in there. The main objective for them will be to sit down and learn. So that's my objective. To run for the school board is to make that connection. Because if you look at the news, listen to the news and see it on TV, our youth are kind of straying away. And the fact of the matter is, mentors usually win with that. Mentors usually win with that. And I underline the trials because without it, trouble is on the horizon. Every young man and women need guidance. And one of the things that has to happen is that you have to understand when you're going to school, that's what you're going there for. It ain't about the teachers. Teachers are already there, principals are there, school board's there. So basically, it's actually on the kids to learn. After that 12th grade, they're going to be put back into the community, and we're going to depend on them to do the right thing.
All right, Ms. Jones.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to apologize for my first speaking. I didn't have some dental work done today, so I won't be able to speak but so loud. Okay? Okay. So I am Jamie Jones, and I'm looking notes as well. I don't want to get into that. I am Jamie Jones, and I am a candidate for post 2 board. For post 2 here in Rockdale County. I've been a resident of Rockdale County since 2004. I am an educator, 26 years, 13 years right here in Rockdale County. My son attended schools here from kindergarten to 10th grade, graduated 2 years ago. I'll tell everyone, in 11th, 12th grade, we made a different decision. We did go to private school. During my time here, I definitely as an educator, I served in the classroom as a classroom teacher in grades 3rd grade, 4th grade, and 5th grade. I also served as an early intervention specialist. That means if the students were struggling academically or reading or math, I was a specialist calling to work for those children. I was also what's called a volunteer student support specialist. It was my job to collaborate with parents, with teachers, and county officials. Say, hey, I've been watching the data, and let's look at this data together. This data indicates that your child is struggling. This child is struggling with either academics or even with behavior. And it was my job to facilitate putting a plan in place to get this child back on track and collaborating with those stakeholders. While in Rockdale County, like I said, I was also volunteer student support specialist. I was also the school bus administrator. So it's my job to make sure that the children displayed appropriate behavior on the bus. It was my job to also communicate those expectations to the parents. It was my job to call in the bus driver to meet the bus driver at the end of the school year and say, hey, what are some rules that you all think will help the bus driver be a safe ride? It was my job to monitor those buses to make sure that there was nothing that was going on that was impacting the state of those children. It It was all my job to, once we did the marketing, once we communicated with parents, I also served as a liaison between the bus drivers and the parents if there were issues that needed to be solved. And my city county school will tell you that those buses were at Show Creek prior to me taking over. They went from having about 15 to 20 bus patrols to having 1 to 2 bus patrols every 2 weeks because of the plan that I put in place. I also put together what's called a check-in, check-out mentoring program. And it's database again. We don't just do things, we have to look at the data. We look at our discipline data, we look at our academic data, and if those children needed some support, those were the children who were getting mentored. Not just the kids who were struggling, but you guys have had kids who were performing high, but they needed some social support. So we made sure that those children were paired with adults in the building. When they came in the building, that they could get some good help. They could get the help, they could get the love, and then those adults knew that their job was to, in a loving way, set down what the expectations were for the day. And at the end of the day, have those kids come back and check out with them and say, hey, how did your day go? Did you follow the rules? Did you get in trouble? And that was our check-in and check-out mentoring program. I was also in charge of facilitating and putting together the mentoring program, not mentoring program, but the after-school tutoring program and the before-school tutoring program. Again, that was data-based. If you're not looking at data to make a decision, you don't know you're making the growth. So that was data-based as well. So, we did the morning tutoring program, and my job to facilitate that, to be the director of that, to monitor the progress, and I saw where the children were not making gains. It was my job to sit with the teachers and say, let's look at some instructional practices. If you have children that are struggling, these practices not gonna work. These are not research-based what this child is struggling with. So why did I decide to run? So he's gonna tell everyone, I'm definitely not a politician. I'm just a mom and just an educator who looked around and said something got to work. And something has got to be done by it. School systems have done some, put some good things in the order, but guess what? They do some great things. How do I know? 26 years of experience telling me that there's some things that we can do data. We can do differently if we look at the data. Just a parent, just an educator who knows what the outcome would be if we continue to go the way that we're going with education. You can't be a one-trick pony when you be on the school board. School board, yes, the school board discusses, make decisions about taxes, but the biggest part of what school board does is to promote student achievement. And for that, there are 3 things. My platform, number 1, schools say children cannot learn in environments that don't feel safe. How do I know that? Because I've had children tell me that I don't like the fact that when we come to class, this student over here is running around the class and doing this and doing that. How do I know that? I've had parents say, but you know what my child says when they come to school, they can't focus on learning because this child right here is doing this and doing that. Educators, they don't want to teach an environment where they have that fear that a child may, I won't say force, but may force them to put them in a protective mode. So if we don't, there's a lot of research to back this. If we don't have safe schools, no learning will take place. I don't care how smart kids are. If it's not a safe learning environment, teachers don't want to teach. The children who are doing what they're supposed to be doing, they do not want to learn because they're so busy looking around to check see what's going to happen next. And teachers they're doing the same thing, but even with that, they're looking at, how much do I have to take? How much do I have to take? Also, while I was here, and I'm going to go back to my platform in a moment, but while I was here, my platform, so each school system has like a governing body. Okay, there's time. I'm trying to give you some background. Okay. You want me to speed it up?
Now, let's move on, then we can ask questions. Give a brief thing about why you're running.
I'm going to want to make a difference. I know that when we say schools, I know how to do that. Why? 26 years of experience, student achievement. You can't just focus on the kids that are failing. Because guess what? You got 85 children who are doing what they're supposed to do. You got to stay with high achiever kids for stuff. They just sit right there plateaued out because teachers have not put you to the next level. Number 3, fostering better relationships between the schools and community. The school cannot go apart from the community. We need clubs like this, we need parents, we need organizations, we need business owners, we have businesses. To maybe start some internships when our kids in high school, they have, jobs that they're going for, they get that training while they're in high school.
Okay, thank you. Tony?
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I really appreciate y'all inviting me here tonight. Just introduce myself. I'm Tony Dowdy. Born and raised first 15 years of my life, Black, Florida. I like to tell people I was born a Gator, but I've been raised a Bulldog, so I've been here ever since. All my kids went through the Rockdale County school system, and they are just thriving. I have 2 daughters and a son. I have 5 grandchildren, 5 or 6, I don't know. They all call me Papa, you know. So I got to see them this Saturday, and it was just awesome. We were all together. But anyway, so I ran for school board back in 2011, I think it was, and started in 2012. I was on school board for 8 years. I was as shocked as anybody that I won, but I was even more shocked how much I really enjoyed it. We accomplished a lot those first 8 years. And it's a commitment, I'm telling you. It's more than just showing up, raising your hand twice a month. Okay, there's a lot of homework to do, but I really enjoyed it. And you know, I love being plugged into the community. I like having a role in the community. I always have since I've been here. And you know, when I left for 4 years. I was just too busy to keep up with the commitment. And then Mr. Jim Cabrera decided to step down, and I started hearing from a lot of community people who said, "Hey, would you consider running again?" And I thought, you know, I did enjoy it. My life's a little calmer than it was the last 4 years. Not a lot, but a little. And so I agreed to run, and I'd appreciate y'all's support. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, at this time, we're going to open it up for Q&A. And I know that there are a minimum of 3 people in here tonight that's got questions. And I don't know whether I need to turn them loose first or then the easy folk go first. But I'm just going to open it up with me. And Ronnie, I knew you were going to be raising your hand. So
I want to know how you can, with the way the situation, look at the shooting and guns and everything, how do y'all feel about putting metal detectors in the school? Each county, how do you feel about putting metal detectors?
We're going to go in the same order?
Anyway, how do you want to answer?
yeah, this didn't matter. Let's go in reverse order.
Okay.
Let's-
Let me,
uh-huh.
you know, I think it's not a bad idea, you know. I think they decided to use these clear backpacks now, and I'm not against that at all. And, you know, I just I hate that it come to that, you know, but
Yeah, the society is
I understand. And, you know, I wouldn't be against it, I can tell you that.
Okay, Jane?
Yeah, so, if the school data, and I know that we're having I know we're having issues with discipline. And what we need to do is, so in the school system, you have 2 data reporting systems. We have empty campus and we have this. So what we need to do is look at the infractions that are being violated. And then we go back and look at the policies to see, are the policies being carried out with fidelity? I want to take you being educated. I know that that's part of the problem. You have these policies in place, but
Were you against it?
and I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm saying if the data supports it. If the data supports it.
Now, seriously, you talk about data,
Mhm.
but when somebody wants to do a mass murder, they think about data. They can have a bad day, they come in there with, especially somebody with mental issues.
Yeah.
They come in there, they don't care nothing about no data. And I'm saying, society change, living to use every day, it's gunfire. Gunfire is all over the nation. So I love for you to pay the extra money and be concerned about the child and not the gun being there. Because they don't need to be bringing the gun anyway. So if I can detect for getting to school, that's the way I feel about it.
Yeah. And you look at it good way.
Because you didn't say whether you against it or
Well,
not.
I'm
But you
not.
said the guidance, and you made the question, I want to direct answer, yes or no. Because you said things, you said yourself, you want to take up the children, right? Okay, say the children, I believe if you get that done for the in that school, you have done your job for the safety of the children.
So let me ask you a question. I'm not being bad, I'm just saying, from the educator standpoint, and the fact that we can't just put that's almost like that when you put, metal detectors in every church, in every store.
Well, I understand what you're saying. It looks bad on the school system, but how can you stop somebody that wants to get a weapon in school? On the way, unless it's the plastic guns. Now they get with these ghost guns, but at least with the metal detector, it's not that much money.
Yeah.
A life is more important than the amount of money. When you got children that are very impressive. When something like that happens, that's for the rest of their life, knowing that what. And see, I realize.
Brian, let Tommy.
Okay, then Tommy. I just want to understand. Okay, Tommy.
I go through one every day. If you can put them in tomorrow morning, it'd be great for me.
Okay, so you.
If you get them tomorrow morning.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anybody else got a question?
I guess it's my turn, I'm
Yeah.
three. Let's see the voice is positive again too. I know the next year, they're saying, no phones and things in class. And I know this is a policy decision. Now, policies are easy to be made. But, you won't have the gumption enough to back up the teachers, the principal, and the superintendent in expediting this new rule that's going to be put in next year about social media being used in the classroom while class is going on. And that's for everybody. The other thing, if I could ask to, Ms. Jones, do you plan to retire if you win, or are you going to be a school board member who's also a teacher?
I will continue to work full time.
And you don't think that's conflict of interest?
Well, no, it is not conflict of interest. The board meets every second and fourth Thursday, and they meet about 6 o'clock.
I'm not talking about the meeting, I'm talking about, you're on the school board, and then you're working with somebody, you're working under somebody who works under the school board,
No, I don't think, I think I've been with the school board, because it keeps me current.
Okay.
With everything that's happening.
But all that is positive is that support that is not conflict. You might want to.
I have, and they have, and I've checked with, different people, and they're not in conflict. In fact, everyone thinks that it's a plus, because it gives them real-time information about some of the issues that teachers are having, and, some of the issues that concern the parents, so, yeah. Everyone thinks it's a great idea, they think it's a plus, and I've heard some really great feedback from parents, from educators, and people at the top.
Another first question, and then all three.
Could you repeat that first part of that first question about the policy that's changing?
Dr. Oates said that next year he's going to put in the bill. Dr. Oates.
Okay, I'm with you now, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
About, having phones in classrooms and tablets, personal tablets in classrooms. And I know that somewhere along the line, there's going to be a conflict with the students and the teachers and possibly the parents. All I'm saying is, if the board's going to have guts enough to back the teachers, the principal, and the superintendent on this particular position. Because you know you're going to get some heat, you're a man or woman enough to stand up and say, this is the policy, and how are you going to make sure that it's implemented?
Let me tell you, as a board member, I think one of the most important parts about being a board member is to support your superintendent. You're in charge of hiring that superintendent. You're in charge of hiring the superintendent and the attorney. Okay, and if that superintendent thinks that this policy is going to be in the best interest of the kids, with every decision you make is for the best interest of the kids. And yes, if the superintendent brought that to me, I would support him.
So, I'm trying to understand the first part of that. Is this, can you just repeat? Okay. I know, when I was teaching on the Rockdale, we did not allow kids to bring their phones to school and have them on.
And I know times have changed. Now, I understand the kids are texting while they're in class, and they receive phone calls, they're making phone calls while they're in class. And I know, that being a teacher myself, I know that this is a distraction. You don't need distracted students in class. So the superintendent has said the next year, the phones will not be allowed in class, and personal tablets will not be allowed in class. I'm saying, I know that we're gonna run into some conflict. You're going back to superintendent, the principals and the teachers, and implement this, scenario.
Whatever those teachers want, I'm 154% behind, without no question. They're running the classroom, if they don't think it's a good idea, then they can't be in there. I mean, what's the purpose of having a cell phone in the classroom?
So that's me,
I think it's kind of out, it's not a thinking, it's, I mean, here you are sitting on the cell phone, the teacher's teaching, and I'm just going along with it right here, I'm just texting out the answers. Oh, yeah, teacher, what you say? Oh, yeah. So, no, oh, yeah, absolutely.
yeah, they can take a test, they can, get on the internet, find answers, so you're not really teaching the student, teach how to find stuff.
Was it another part of that question you said, was it, I mean?
No, that would be only for her. The second part for her about working for the school system and being on the board at the same time. Oh, that was just for her.
Okay, let me kind of throw a little bit of a monkey wrench into this discussion. I just want us to go back for a moment to, I don't remember what year it was. I'm sure it was like in the early 2000s. But y'all remember a situation that was called Columbine? Now, I don't know how many of the kids had access to phones and call their parents and let them know that they were okay. So if these phones are taken from these kids, I understand the interruption, I understand the distraction that's going on, but if your child is in that classroom and they shut that school down, do you want to know whether or not that child is okay or not? Do you want to know? Wait, I'm addressing the candidates. Do you want them to know? Now, here's an incident that happened a few days ago with my grandson. But typically, when he gets in the car, I ask him, what kind of day did you have? And he'll tell me about how his day was. This particular day, he got in the car, and I didn't even have to ask him. He said there was an incident at school today. I'm not going to say what the school was. And I said, what happened? He said, one of the kids had a knife in the 4th grade. Okay? And so I have talked to some people and they asked me the question, saying, did your daughter get a call from the school and say that this kid had a knife? The last time I brought this up to her, she had not heard anything from the school in terms of what took place. So I'm kind of adding on what Coach has said. Are you going to be willing to take the pressure from that policy if the superintendent brings that before the board, and then if you pass it, and then the parents start kicking against this because they are concerned about their children? And I know we're saying all this, that we're concerned about children and all of that, and we want to do whatever the superintendent wants to do, but let's just be real. There are some things that maybe the superintendent may want to do that may not should be approved. So let me hear from you guys about what you think about what I'm saying here about, having Tony and Steve raise their hand.
Sure. I think you bring up a great point, and it brings up, it's a great debate, right? I mean, you could debate this one way or the other, coach's view, your view, and you got to weigh that debate. And I guarantee you, the superintendent, his cabinet has been weighing this debate. It's not just some decision he pulled out of his back pocket. So you got to support the superintendent if you feel like he's done all the research and he's done everything that's going to be in the best interest of kids. I hear you loud and clear. The cameras could be very valuable in certain situations, okay? but you back up the superintendent cap.
I would like to respond to that question. So here's what, I hear the superintendent saying. The superintendent is saying that he wants to stop children from using the device, not that they can't have them on their person. Because one of the reasons why, young children who are allowed to keep their devices is because they have a lot of latchkey kids. That means they get off the bus and then their parents are at home. Their parents are not there, their parents are at work. So there are policies in place, that says that kind of binds the use of personal devices. But the school gives them devices to use for instructional purposes. So he's not saying they can't bring them, because he's not gonna be able to, that's something he's not gonna be able to mandate, that they cannot bring them. The thing is that the phone should not be out in person. The phone should not be out in use, the phone should not be used, the phone should be off. And then there are rules that say if the phone comes on, these are the next steps. Like you collect the phone goes to the office, parent has to pick the phone up from the office after the third time, they may say the phone cannot come back. But our society has changed. You know, I was sure they need those phones because they need to be able to call the parents and say, you know what, I'm getting off the bus now. A lot of people don't have house phones, and the cell phones will make up for that.
Timothy, do you have your hand up?
Yes,
Okay.
I know you were talking about safety, and I just kind of want to see if, for all the kids, you have any specific plans for safety as far as COVID is concerned, and then, like you all, like you were saying, the data to support, like, what plans do you have to address, you know, the specific things referring to non-Rockdale.
Well, for us, with us dealing with the safety of the school, the physical safety of the school, I do think that there should be stricter measures in place. For example, at elementary school, the most of the incidents happen during transition, when children are moving from place to place. At the elementary school, you export those children. At the middle school, they kind of move freely. At the high school, they move a little bit more freely. So I'm thinking, during the transition, we need extra bodies. In these places where adults, maybe around the corners, in the bathroom, we need extra bodies over there. We need to also, make sure that we inform the parents, so you know there's a handbook that goes home. But maybe that we have to be stricter with, how we're going through that handbook, and make sure that the parent and the student and everyone's on the same page with, what the guidelines are. With our buses, I've been in the school bus, we need monitors on the buses. You got a bus driver trying to drive the bus. Then you got to try to monitor the bus. They send you a micro. You got he's a driver, he's a monitor, now he's a referee. They send you got a camera that's coming. They don't put him on the buses. He's a driver, he's a monitor, he's a referee, now he's a film director. So I'm thinking more bodies could help, and then also communicating what the expectations are. And the biggest thing, you got a policy in place on the job. If you have a policy in place, follow that policy. Follow the policies that are in place. We have some great policies in place. And I can tell you from being in the school system, a lot of those policies are not followed. Because they're, you know, and I don't want to talk about CCPRI, but with the schools, with the state's old scoring, you know, the school system would lose points for disciplinary. They have kids who are being beaten up. So a lot of times, kids try to get around that. But we're not going to follow policy, because if you don't get that discipline in order, you're not going to have anything academic achievement. And I would tell you,
Does anybody else have a question? Can you give me okay, Mallory?
Well, just your question, what are repeat your question, sorry.
No, she was saying that, you know, one of the main concerns is trying to be safe, so I wanted to ask, as far as even with the health, the COVID measures, what are you going to do? Do you have a plan or some kind of idea what you would like to implement going forward, in addition to safety, as far as how you know, the data that is out to change, you know, to implement some things and structure to where, you know, you have a safety plan or to, you know, alleviate the safety concerns.
I think you get into, that would be two functions. I don't think the school board, I mean, that would be the administrators inside the school. I don't think that the school board could say, you come in and implement a plan, how you bring masses. I just kind of think that would be done. They got nurses in every one of these schools, right? They know exactly, what to do with that, and they can relay that information to the administrators. So I don't want to get that twisted and say, you know, the school board is all savior, because that's not going to be the case. I know it's not going to be the case. You depend a whole lot on the school system and how it operates, with safety and everything else, yes. Yes.
So, everybody knows if the kid doesn't feel safe, he's not gonna be able to learn, okay? When you're talking about codes, you know, hey, I'm no expert at all. I know that every single parent I've talked to says they want to get rid of the mask. I mean, I don't know one of them that says they want to continue the mask. And I know there's some out there. I'm just saying that's the mindset. You want to be done with the mask as far as that goes. But I am no expert on COVID. Second of all, you know, when I was on the school board, we implemented all the key entry, button entry, intercoms to every single school system. You can't get in the school system now without pushing that button and making you know, aware. And that's huge, you know. I'd love to see more visual sheriffs on site, you know, more patrol, you know, just more human beings versus I think we have, I know we have at least one security and I would like to see maybe more than that. It's very expensive, but you know, it just seems like it would be tourists and things if you had more presence of, you know, some officers and that kind of thing in your school system. But that's my answer.
Okay, Mallory, you have a question?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. So I wanted to go back to, Mr. Dowdy. You did touch on the implementation for the 2022-2023 school year of the clear book bag. I would like to know from you three, would you all have supported that measure? And then the second part of that question, what would be the determining factor for you all to continue to support such a measure?
Okay, yes, I think it's a great idea. I mean, why not? I know it's a cost. I know it's several $100,000. I don't know the amount, but I have heard that it's a big item in the budget. But, if that's what's recommended, I would support it for sure.
I definitely would support it. Are you mean for a clear, having clear beds? Yes. I think, you know, this is my idea. I think that the superintendent, and I think the connection should be more, maybe they need to have more assemblies so that everybody knows the importance of carrying. The importance to all the kids knowing that, you know, we live in different times. Just give them the facts, huh? And just let everybody know exactly where we stand and how we want to go with this. It is your responsibility as a superintendent, the principals, hey, to make sure that nothing is overlooked and is foggy. Just like we do a juvenile hall. Mostly all the kids know exactly what to do. They know how to do when they go to school, they know how to carry the bus, they know how many to go. Information is everything. Be transparent. Make sure that everybody on board, and I think you're going to have less confusion.
And I would love to know, because this is something I've been hearing, you know, but what are the negatives other than the cost of it? Is there any negatives for having a clear backpack that I'm not aware of? I'm just curious.
So they said they'll be out there.
I know it's a cost. Other than that, I'm just wondering, is there any other negative?
Some people will take you to figure out all that right.
Okay.
Okay. Not that I don't think that.
Right, I get it. I just
But
was
some
curious.
of you have to tell the kids the fact that this is not just a policy, this is for your safety. And we're not worried about what you do, we worry about what they're going to do.
Okay.
And if we have to make them do it, we also would like you to do it, because now you become a part of the overall safety program. That has to be sold to the kids. And it's not an easy sell. So some people are going to no matter what you come up with. It says you can go ahead for a dime, somebody's going to say, can I go for 9 cents? You know, somebody's always going to deviate from the law. There's always somebody who's going to test the system. And you've been teaching for years, not talking for 40 years, and you on the school board, talking around. you gotta know that people are always gonna test the system, and they look for flaws in the government. And you are part of the government, so they look for flaws in you, which they can attack. I don't know why they do that, but they do that. So, but we have to be able to deal with it when it comes up. And you see how important it is, how much time we spend on it already. So that when you get on the board, it won't be anything new to you. You should be thinking about these type of things that you can suggest to the superintendent. How is he gonna implement these things? Maybe they can carry the form to the classroom until they can't turn them on. Suppose kids turn it on anyway, what do you do? You know, so these things will come, they're gonna try it. No matter what you go with, they're gonna try it. I just want you guys to be prepared for the gifts. I just thought I'd move to thought from all the experience I've had over the years.
Okay.
I would like to respond to that question. Yes, I do support the book bags. I'm gonna be honest and say, I don't support the county getting the bill. I feel like, I think it should have been one of those requirements with them to have a paper bag, but I don't feel like the county should have put a bill. I see schools maybe purchasing a few for those children or those families who cannot afford them, but that's a big deal. And you have a lot of families who probably would have been willing to, just like the uniform policy. They buy their own uniform, and then you keep a few on hand for those people who cannot say, or say, I need a little support. So that's how I feel. I support the book bags, the book bags, but putting the bill, I don't agree with that. Not putting it in.
Okay, Paul, you had a question?
Yeah, we talked in depth about security and protection of the school, teachers, the students. Besides that, what other critical issues that you see, and what are your game plans to solve those issues and move the school district forward?
Okay. For me, it's academic achievement.
So
that is students showing growth and performing at their highest individual level, that everyone's not going to be at the same level. So we want to manage some growth. We want to make sure that they are making some growth, some gains every year, or every testing period when they are doing their testing. Is this child making growth? So how do we ensure that? We ensure that we have teachers who are trained in teaching different types of students. That means every child doesn't understand.
right.
Some kids are visual, some kids are auditory. So make sure that teachers have those training with the best, most effective instructional practice. What else are we going to do? We're going to make sure we have the right programs that they use. We're going to have one that Rockdale County uses for our kids who are struggling with their basic math. They use something called First in Math. But First in Math is not be the best program. There's another program called Reflex Math. And Reflex Math teaches kids in isolation how to deal with their skills. Whereas in First in Math, the combination of skills that they're doing, what the kids are doing is click, 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 click until they get it right. Whereas with Reflex Math, they have no option but to focus on basic math skills. Why is that important? If those basic math skills are lacking, guess what? They're not going to be able to learn higher level skills. So making sure we have the right program for the concerns of the student. What else are we going to do? We're going to make sure that we provide some support to parents. Because we have a lot of children who are being raised by grandparents, or even parents who are saying, you know what? I don't know how to teach this. I don't know how to support you. So maybe why don't we have, many schools have a reading night and a math night, where they're assisting parents on how they can assist their children at home. That is important because educators receive training on analyzing the standards and making it matriculate to instruction. What is we going to do? We're going to make sure that our students are ready to learn. What we learned from after COVID is that our students are coming back with more issues. They have social issues. Why? Because a lot of them are at home. Some of them by themselves, watching them on stuff. Some coming in abusive situation, and they're just too read out for that. So we have to address those other concerns that they have and make sure that they are ready for learning. And the biggest thing that we can do more than anything else is you put in place, you monitor what you expect. And if you don't see a problem, then there's a problem. There's a problem with the facilitation, there's a problem with the program, there's an issue with the child and their ability to learn where they should put it out.
All right, anybody else have a question, comment?
Well, I have a question that's away from this. Okay, you just keep talking about you're going to
do this testing, but the first thing I gotta have in order to be able to even, begin to teach in the classroom is I gotta have discipline and I gotta have consequence for the kids. Now, how are we gonna do that? We need to get discipline and that needs to be a
Let me
consequence.
say something. You asked a lot of questions. Can I get these two gentlemen to ask questions as well?
Yes, I'm just, I'm here. If you want to answer that question,
Go ahead.
what he said. The question on the floor is, what are we gonna do in the school system about consequences, consequence, and discipline? That's the problem. Now, how are you gonna deal with that? And, well, let me just say this, and I agree with you 200%. It ain't about them teachers, believe me. They're educated, they know exactly what they're doing. I've talked to a lot of them, know a lot of them. They said their number one problem is discipline. You already, you said it. Let's just put it on the table, it's discipline. And so, to do that, mentoring, because I'm understanding that it's not enough of that. Kids, not enough of mentoring inside the school. Excuse me, I appreciate you talking about the mentoring. First, I gotta have a discipline and I gotta have a consequence. Right now, in our school systems all over, pretty much unless you're going to a private institution, and if you go to a private institution, there is discipline and there's a consequence. You're gonna get your butt caned. Okay, so right now, in our schools where the kids know that I can curse the teachers out, I can curse the administrators out, I witness this every day. Okay, you can curse the assistant superintendent, even the superintendent out. So what you gonna do? Well, what are we gonna do? Well, let me answer your question. Rockdale school system has a policy here that if the child gets too little bit out of hand, they have a school. What's it called? Alpha. If you can't make it in the classroom, and the teacher feels you too much instruction, or you're destroying everything that they're trying to do, but they're in there for 45 minutes, and if it's taking them 35 or to get order, then you gotta do something. So guess what? You can warn the person, you can warn the child, say, hey, listen, maybe you need to get, I talked to them at Alpha. I was on that for 2 years, when they were in the training. Excuse me, 1 minute, I can give them out of school, I can give them in-school suspension for how many days. If they get really tough, then I give them out of school suspension, a few days, and then they come back to me. Now, what is the consequence? What is the consequence? Because right now, we really don't have anything in this country that really getting. But at the end of the day, then these same students, they're gonna be in our penal system, right? But I'm asking, when are we gonna get a consequence, disciplining consequence, implemented in our public schools?
Let me say this.
How you gonna do it?
Let me say this. There is no one straight answer to that question. You know that being from the military, there is no one set answer for that question. My question is, besides security, discipline, protection, what are the critical issues that you see and have to resolve? You're the only one to answer. I'm waiting on 2 other people to answer that question. Let me repeat it again. Besides security, protection, discipline, what are the critical issues that you have identified, and how can we or you resolve, or what outcome are you looking for to resolve that issue?
Well, first of all, I would want to go along with parent involvement. First of all, every parent should be connected to their child.
Should is conditional.
Well, I can only speak, I'm not in nobody's house, I can't tell you that. But I can tell you that parent involvement is first and foremost in the game plan. Okay, do you agree with that? Okay, so that's one part of that answer I'm just giving you. Okay. Secondly, if the school can identify that there's a problem with that child, then they're gonna have to deal with it one way or the other. For instance, I just told you, if the child cannot function in regular classroom, maybe he needs to go out. Maybe they need to. Now, my wishes is that they create inside the school system to make that bigger. So maybe you don't have to go to that. When I was going to high school, there was a special classroom you had to go to.
Besides discipline and protection, what other critical issues do you see? Going right back to discipline and protection.
Well, I think you answered it yourself. It's only so far I can probably go with that. And I don't know if it's all on the school board to solve that problem.
What part was that?
What you just said. You said, name them all, you named them all, you said,
No, besides that.
besides that, so what else is left?
What other critical issues have you identified
Inside, and
inside the school system that you can solve, or we can solve, and what outcome you looking for?
well, I'll be honest with you, I've been on all the campuses. So when I'm there at school, I just see kids going to classrooms.
Okay.
That's what I see.
All right, go ahead, Tommy. Tony, go ahead, Tony.
I think overall teacher morale, student morale, may be an issue. Teacher retention is an issue. We've implemented bonus plans, we've implemented signing bonuses, we're implementing things like that to keep teacher retention when that's offering $10,000 more a year. Those are issues that we have. Overall sustainability with our faculty itself, I think is an issue. It's tough to keep people here. And, we built this new facility, we've got, built these new schools, and, we're doing a lot of good things, but that's always a problem is, teacher retention. That's my answer.
Okay, well, we need to kind of bring this to a close. I want to thank each one of you for taking the time to come here and address the Citizens Progressive Club. There are definitely some other things that we could talk about. I just want to kind of get a nod from each one of you, because I heard somebody say, Tony might have been you, was to support the superintendent with whatever he, policies and plans, and I'm concerned about that. I don't want people that's gonna be on the board that's gonna be yes people. And, just whatever he says, you go with, and I'm not trying to bash the superintendent. Coach Rowell and I serve on the advisory, council board for the superintendent, and we don't get a chance really to see a lot of the issues that we're hit with in the public domain, things that people, most of that is not really discussed in these meetings and so forth. We get a lot of the good stuff that's happening, how the school is performing and stuff, but we don't really get into a lot of the things that people are concerned about in the street. And I just want to say this in closing. I know there's an issue between how educators look at, and it's going back to the discipline thing, of how students should be disciplined. I was told a few weeks ago, I was kind of surprised. I didn't realize that, and Tony, you mentioned about having more resource officers at the schools. Well, I was told not long ago, it wasn't by the superintendent or not even anybody who was involved in the school system, but they were saying that the first line of defense is that the administrators should go and resolve fights and stop them. And then if they can't handle them, then the resource officer. Well, I thought it was just the opposite. I thought the resource officer ought to be the first people there, because I've got a son that's, that teaches in school and stuff, and I don't know if he's the only problem, whether he's feels like this now. But I would imagine some teachers, what they want to do is teach. They don't want to be breaking fights. And so I know there's an issue between how people look at it. And I don't know, some may not supposed to have done this, but he showed me a picture of how somebody had destroyed the classroom. But there was nothing really that they could do until the kid just basically tore up everything. And then they, tried to take him down and put him under control. So, Tony, go ahead.
And I know you're trying to end this meeting. Once again, I appreciate y'all inviting me, but you called me out. And I'm not a yes man. You look at my record on the board, 8 years, I'm not a yes man. I disagree with a lot of things that happened on that board and some of the decisions that are made, but that was not my point. My point is, as a board member, your role is to support the superintendent so that the goals and the decisions that are being made are, if they're for the best interest of the kids, that's what you got to weigh out. And if you feel like they are, then you support him, whether, you know, parents may not like it or whatever. So that's not being a yes man.
I'm glad you clarified that, because you didn't say, you didn't put a qualifier on it.
Yes, sir.
You said,
Yes, sir.
okay, you just said you support the superintendent.
Well, you know,
And so,
overall,
I
you're
just
hiring, you better be hiring the right guy.
But if you do, and I don't want to get combative with this, but if you do, and you think that person is the right person, which you think it is when you, he or she is when you hire, but then once they start working, you might realize that maybe there's some things that we see differently. And I think that that the school board is a very, very controversial board. It's probably one of the most controversial in our county when it comes to certain issues. Now, those different issues, everything seems to go well in school, because I know a lot of people don't show up to the board meetings until they have some kind of special award. And I would encourage us as parents and grandparents and citizens of Rockdale to attend more school board meetings, because people just don't show up for them. But I'm just going to say thank y'all so much, and this is a tough group, and believe me, some of them didn't say anything, so they let y'all off the hook.
Can we respond to that?
Okay. Quickly.
I mean, I'm talking, this is directly at Pastor to you. I think you want to look at the superintendent as the CEO, and you want to look at the board members as board members of a major company. Board members make a lot of decisions on how things should go. And if the CEO ain't doing it right, sometimes they have to go.
Right.
I'm not saying that's the case, but
Yeah.
that's the general way it would work. I mean, you can come up with anything you want to. Board members got to get along, because at the end of the day, it's got to go to a vote. Somebody got to make a motion. Somebody got to say it. So I think everybody needs to get along in that spectrum to make sure they're out.
We say this is now,
Okay.
you know, I've been on the city council 28 years. And we were policy makers. Okay? Now, policy makers are policy approvals. The only professional, kind of back to what we're talking, saying, the only professional educator on this government on the Board of Education is the superintendent. He's the one who has a background in education. All the rest of us in different professions. So, even if the superintendent makes a policy, he should bring it to the board for approval. Yeah, that way everybody is on the same page, and you won't be up in the meeting fighting against the superintendent. He brings the policy, they think will improve the school system, you either approve or reject the policy, and you move on. You can't just let him make all the policies without any approval from the board, because he needs the approval from the board. But he is a special educator, he knows more about education than anybody on the board. Believe it or not, it does, because many times the company has to go through the education, has to have the degrees, has to have the certified business superintendent qualifies him to know these policies. Most of the people on the board have not been in education at all until they took the oath of office. So you should take what the superintendent says with a lot of thought, because he has the most experience. And then, if you agree or disagree with the policy, or try to point out some fallacies in the policy, then fine. But you don't reject the policy just because the superintendent says it, and you don't agree with the policy just because the superintendent says it.
That's right.
It's a two-way street, you know. You approve the policy, you either make a policy or approve the policy, you vote on it and you move on.
And I would like to add, however, the superintendent has been out of the classroom for a while. I've been out of the classroom I've been back in the classroom for the past 2 years. And there are a lot of things that have changed with instructional practices and the best methods to instruct. So he has been, and it's not nothing against him, because he's a very intelligent man, I would say that. But a lot has changed, and that's why when someone asks you, is there going to be a conflict with you being an educator? it is the best thing. Because I can tell you currently what are some of the concerns with classrooms. Currently, what's the concerns with safety. It is important to do your research, to come to the table ready. I'm never going to be a yes person. Because anything I put my name on, I'm going to be able to stay on behind, so I can do research.
Yes, I don't want this competition with you, but how many teachers are in the system?
And that's quite important that you want to let James Jones.
What I'm saying is, the superintendent is not running the classroom.
That's true.
It's up to the classroom teachers to run the classroom. As long as that's not the policy of the Board of Education. And everybody should stay in all that.
Yes.
All right, well, thank y'all so much, and we appreciate y'all go through. We're gonna do this. Thank you so much.
Thank y'all for having me. I really do. Thank y'all.
All right.